Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, and I'm going to begin a new build here. This is another, let's call it vintage build. This came from the collection of another departed member of my grown-up rocketry club, which actually I'm not so sure. This might have just been from an empty out of somebody's basement, but regardless, this is not a recent offering. This is the Estes Super Vega. Now, there was certainly, let's see the whole thing. There is a scaled down version of this that was 18 millimeter motor, conventional standard motor. This is the upscale that uses 24 millimeter motors. I'm trying to find like a publication date on this. There's probably one somewhere inside, but needless to say, this is not a recent offering. So we'll have to see what needs to be done, what needs to be replaced. There's one thing I do know that I'm absolutely going to replace. Um, we'll get to that here momentarily. So overall, this was factory sealed when I got it, so it's in pretty good shape. I did take a peek. Everything looks pretty nice, with one exception. That would be the decals. Of course, the decals are like the irreplaceable part. They're a little kind of yellowed out from age, but overall, these two sheets were fine. This one, on the other hand, though, down here, and again, this was factory sealed. Like something got under here and peeled the backing off. So this particular decal is, not great. I might have to tack that down with some kind of glue, but it should be workable. Fingers crossed. Here's hoping. But in any event, largely the kit is workable. I don't need to replace anything major. So the things that I do need to worry about, the shock cord is very old. It feels rough, right? So I'm not going to take too much of a risk with this. I'm going to replace this, but I don't need to worry about that for the time being. Anyway, that goes in the garbage can. The rest of this stuff's pretty nice. Plenty of tubes, and the tubes are all straight. That also comes from the era when Estes die cut everything. So this is die cut rather than laser cut, which is, it's a little hard to work with, but this will be manageable. They're nice sheets. Shouldn't be a problem. The tubes look good. This nose cone I'm going to have to cut apart in a couple places. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. Oh, yes. Look at all that stuff. Very nice. I am going to have to build the parachute, which I don't really love doing that. I would consider replacing it entirely, but I'm guessing this is probably going to be durable enough. But in any event, the one thing that I do want to replace, actually, these go with that. The one thing I'm going to replace, and I'm going to do it like right away, is the motor mount. So this is a 24 millimeter motor mount, which is great. Nothing wrong with that. This is the motor. Actually, these two pieces go together. But in any event, it's a D motor mount, which is kind of outmoded by today's standards. A lot of Estes kits that are designed for this size are E motor mounts rather than Ds. So I am going to make a slight change here. So this is, again, it's kind of an old outmoded Estes motor mount, but this is the engine hook. I'm going to replace this. Now I happen to have a stash of, this is a Rocketarium motor mount. It's a 24 millimeter motor mount. I don't need, the whole thing. This tube is perfectly fine. All the other parts are perfectly fine. The only thing I actually want out of here, which, honestly, this isn't super necessary either. You could definitely make do without. But, I can take that. That's a D to E motor spacer. But this is what I really want. I want the longer engine hook. So the rest of this pack I'm going to squirrel away. Save that. And I do need to harvest another piece here. This is an E motor mount spacer. I don't really think I'll need this exactly, but it will be nice to have. I'm going to have to make some minor modifications to make sure that everything fits. So in any event, this hook goes, this is basically the length of an E motor. So we're going to use that as a spacer. This, actually, I have a bunch of these. That can go back in the kit too. This is how you plug it in here. It fits in nicely, right? And then this will be the way that you use a D or C11 in this instead of, because they're shorter. So in any event, the rest of this stuff, there's a lot of stuff here. Let's try to gather it up. I'm going to work on just the motor mount for today. That'll be my goal. All right, so need that. The rest of this stuff off to the side. By the way, I will hang on to this. I have periodically needed such things, so it's not something to pitch. I do need this as well. All right, so instructions here are, maybe there's a copyright date on this. I don't know. I don't see one. But in any event, instructions are generally pretty good. They're more verbose. And you can see they're more verbose than like the modern Estes instructions. So yeah, it's just different times. I guess that doesn't belong. All right, I do need that. Okay, so starting off, I'm going to need to punch these out. You could use a hobby knife if you want. I'm going to have it just available in case. There we go. Most of the time, these things, you can just punch them out without any real difficulty. The only thing that could go awry if you do that is you'll end up with little burrs. So if you get any particularly nasty burrs, like that's a little dodgy. You can always sand them down. So there we go. All right. Anyway, I need a ruler and I need a pencil on my motor mount here. I need to mark off. So I'm going to mark off at 1 3/16, which means I need to use the other side of the ruler, evidently. Okay, so 1 3/16, half, quarter, 8 3/16. So that's going to be right. Let's try another pencil. That one could really stand to be sharpened. If your ruler doesn't have 16ths, well, maybe consider getting one. But otherwise, yeah, you'll be fine with probably just doing it at 1 1/4. That's basically the same thing. So make it come up a little bit short of that. The other thing is I'm supposed to put a slit in this at 2 1/2, and that's supposed to be where the engine hook mounts in. So yeah, this is the part where I'm going to have to start doing a little bit of like reverse engineering. So I don't want the motor the whole way in. I want it, maybe like this far out. So this just barely fits, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe I'll do like 1/4 of an inch. So we'll just mark off about 1/4 of an inch up the tube here. And again, I am kind of eyeballing this, but it shouldn't be a major problem, one would hope. Anyway, yeah. Actually that it should be all right. I kind of feel like I should get an actual E motor out just to make sure. But if this, I'll do that for the next video. But if this ends up not being quite in the right spot, having this little slit here isn't going to really hurt anything. So there we go. And eventually, this spacer is going to go right at the end anyway, so it should be fine. All right. Anyway, hopefully that's all I need the ruler for the time being. The instructions call for me to bow this thing. I don't need to do that because it's got the nice little modern style hook at the end of it. If it were just that original one, yeah, I probably would want to put a bow in it. But I don't really need to. This actually has kind of a cut in it. I'm not entirely sure why. That's actually a good question. Not sure what that's for. Anyway, so the next thing I need to do is I'm supposed to put some glue, and then this part is going to slide over the top like so. Yeah, so this is actually going to be slightly irreversible once I do it. So I probably should have an E motor just to make sure I've got everything right. Now these are generally the same size, but I do want to make sure this is right. So let's go grab one quickly so we don't have any like technical issues. All right, so here's an E. It is actually a little bit longer than the spacer. So I'm going to plop this in here. Here we go. And it actually comes up a little short. So you can see like that. That's kind of a problem. It actually means that the hook is too long. Go figure on that. So, I mean, there's nothing I can do about that. What I can do, though, is I can put the spacer inside of where the hook is. So instead of having the spacer be outside of the hook, I can move it to the inside, and that should take care of things. So let's just double check that. So I'm going to use this pusher thing to get it all the way down, and then try the motor. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's not, it's a lot better. So we'll do that. All right, I'm going to pull all of this apart, and then I'm going to get my glue, and I can see the slit right where I cut it. So I'm going to put a ring of glue just inside of that. It's actually kind of light on the glue. Let's go a little heavier. All right, there we go. Yeah, I'm actually going to push it down the other direction. Typically, I would bring it up the other way. That, yeah, that's pretty good. And I am going to actually use the motor here to push this back a little bit. There we go. And there was a little bit of extraneous glue there. That shouldn't make any difference. All right. Lovely. Now, so that's in place. That's good to go. I don't need that anymore. What I do need is I need to put this over top to hold things together, just to make sure that I've got this in the right place, right? So I'm supposed to slide it down to the first line that I made, which is right here. So it's going to go most of the way down. So like so. The picture doesn't quite look like that, to be honest with you, but it should be all right. So, the instructions show like putting an absolute ton of glue on this, and that's I'm not going to do that. So I will put a decent amount of glue here, I guess, like so, and then maybe a little bit more up here. It should be like, way more than I could ever possibly need. It's probably going to make a glue mess. That's okay. All right, so that's in line, and as expected, yeah, I got a ton of excess glue. That's all right. I do want to make sure that that hook is on straight, because I did end up kind of bending it. Well, not bending it, but let's call it misaligning it as I push things around. So do make sure that it is on straight. Okay, so I've done things slightly out of order from the instructions. The instructions want me to put that piece I just did on first, then put the ring in. I'm obviously not doing that in that order, since I had to kind of adjust this on the fly. The other things, then, these little guys, they're going to go, looks like the one's got a notch in it, so that obviously goes with the hook. All right, and that's going to go just kind of up against the edge here. And the other one is going to go more or less just here. This one actually doesn't go, it probably should, right, have a little notch in it too, so it can go past the hook. but the hook's not supposed to be there, so I can slide it over. That should be all right. All right, so anyway, we'll put a little bit of glue. I'll do this side first. This was easy. So I'll put a little glue right in that seam. And then just slide it on. And you'll notice some of the glue kind of backed up there, which is fine because this is going to make, oops, there we go. It's going to make our fillet here, at least half the fillet. So you do want it, ooh, that's not straight at all. There we go. Do want that to be straight. We'll worry about getting the fillet on right a little bit later. Same deal with this side. I'm going to put some glue in the seam. You would think the seam would make this nice and easy so that the rings would be perpendicular to the tube, which is of course very important because if they're not perpendicular, then the whole mount isn't straight. That is not exactly what happened with the other one. Go figure. All right, so I'm going to smear that out. Great. And then I'm going to put fillets. I'm going to put fillets on the other sides too, the ones that did not get the excess glue. And just smear that out. Okay. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you should try to avoid putting glue on the engine hook, but the glue, like even if you do get glue on the engine hook and it sets up, the glue is never going to hold up to you prying at it. So, oops, not a big deal. If you do end up getting glue over the hook, just try to clean it up, but if you don't, oh well, no particular problem there. And then this will be my last fillet. Here it doesn't matter if you get glue on the hook or not, because that part isn't supposed to move. All right, one last check. I'm just going to spin it like so, looking down it. The ring shouldn't appear to wobble. If it wobbles, it's not on perpendicular, but you can always push, again, to make sure they're flush, and that should be fine. All right, so that takes care of the upscaled motor mount. It needs to dry before I can do anything else with it, and there probably have to be some other minor modifications that I make based on the changed size. But overall, first step's done. Next step's going to be working with the balsa. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.